Futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors. Therefore, carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition.
Good morning. It's Friday, January 2nd. I'm Phil Streible, Chief Market Strategist at Blue Line Futures. So I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's and a prosperous 2026. So trading is likely to remain lighter than usual here, with many of the market participants not returning until their desks until Monday. Looking at the precious metals, the broader market picture, we've got a fresh burst of optimism around artificial intelligence, and that's sending stocks off to a strong start in 2026. The NASDAQ futures up about 1% at 25,720. You have the S&P 500 up 40 points here. That's up over 0.5% at 69.32. You have the Russell up 0.4% here. Actually, 0.8% at 25.18. It was the Dow Jones up 0.4%. So strong start across the board. And looking at all the equity markets, you got a lot of green on the screen here in the metals markets as well. So stocks are looking to break that 4-day losing streak. In precious metals, they are rallying here, with silver rising about 4.8% past that $74 an ounce mark, and gold advancing alongside industrial metals such as copper, platinum, and palladium. Copper is extending its gains here as miners in Chile go on strike here, and aluminum touching $3,000 a ton for the first time in more than 3 years on expectations of tighter supply. The dollar, following its worst year in 8, really remains lackluster, up about 15 points. So the key support resistance level that I've been watching on the gold market is holding that trend line. I'll put that in the chart in today's Metals Edge. So you'll see that. You can see this upward sloping line here, really from some of the key lows we've seen from August and early December, and punching through that all-time high. Now looking at the oil market, suffering its steepest decline in more than 5 years, giving back some early gains, back negative on the screen, down about 0.2%. This weekend, OPEC and its allies are expected to confirm plans to pause supply hikes. Oil traders are watching some of the developments in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Iran. Looking at some of the economic data coming out, investors are getting their first look at 2026 with global PMIs, with the S&P's final December U.S. Manufacturing Purchasers Index due out at 8:45 a.m. Central Time. Looking at the precious metals ETF flows, well, this goes back into just before and on the New Year's here. We saw ETFs, they were selling gold, they were buying silver, platinum, and palladium. So gold, this is year to date in 2025. Total gold held by ETFs rose 19% to 99 million ounces. It slipped about 0.1% as they cut about 70,000 troy ounces. You look at the silver market, big boost, big buy on that decline, coming back down here where we broke back down near that $70 level. So the ETFs, they added 0.6%, with total year-to-date gold or silver ETFs rising 21% in 2025, and they added about 5 million ounces. So they cut about 5 million the day before, and that's where these gyrations are happening. So what you're seeing as far as ETF flows is when you get the big boost up, it seems like they're selling that rally, and then when you get the breakdown, it looks like they're buying the dip, and that's just based upon ETF flows, not really indicative of any kind of real market structure here. It's just that what all the total amount of silver, the changes that are happening with this year's net purchases in 2025 at 147.5 million ounces. You got the gold-silver ratio sitting at 59-1, so I'll be keeping an eye on some of those key themes that are going out. I'll be looking at the Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, looking at treasury yields pushing back down below that 4.10%, looking at gold futures potentially moving on up to that 5,000 level in 2026. We'll see what silver brings here as it gets to this pivot point, and I believe that the low 50s is most likely your new level of major support, with that $84 being your resistance point, where a breakthrough for that could renew some optimism on up to that $100 mark. We may continue to see weakness in the dollar index as we look to continue that Fed cutting cycle. Well, you go to the ECB and you go to other central banks out there, they're either pausing or they're looking at hiking interest rates back up. We'll keep an eye on Bitcoin futures recapturing that 90,000 mark, seeing if it can continue to build on this. You've got those rate cut expectations really at a wait and see type point, where you got market participants looking at a 15% likelihood that the Fed will cut rates by 25 basis points. You look at the March meeting, it's 41%, so it really looks like a pause is going to happen in January. We'll see if there's any kind of commentary coming out there, but if you look at inflation across the board, it's been coming down pretty dramatically, with weaker agricultural prices and also weaker energy prices. These have been some of the major catalysts and inputs. You also have of rent starting to come back down as well as we see interest rates start to cut. We'll keep it on the yield curve if it's steepening or flattening for some of the positioning out there. And we'll look at Ethereum, which is making some higher lows on the charts and looking to potentially recapture that bullish trend. So you guys got any questions? Great time to open up a futures trading account. We've got a lot of different products here. Everything from the wealth management side with Blue Line Capital. If you're looking for a CTA, we have that as well for your qualified investors. And then also we've got the futures trading account where you can open up accounts, as low as $5,000 here if you're looking at something specific in a lot of these markets as far as like an option trade or looking at some of those micro contracts out there. Again, a lot of different accounts. Looking at different strategies out there, I could help you build some of these strategies out and some of your positioning to try and help you meet some of your goals here in 2026. So you guys got any questions? Shoot an email, info@bluelinefutures.com. Remember, futures and option trading does involve risk of loss, may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.
Futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors. Therefore, carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition.